Hello everybody, welcome to Phoenix History. Today we're going to do a very special video on this memorial stone which marks out the plaque of 30 people, 30 hot pickers to be precise, who unfortunately died literally just up the road here across the River Medway. We've come here to tell that wonderful story, and hopefully you come along with us and you check it out for yourself. So we'll see you on the other side. Take care for now. On the evening of the 20th of October 1853, on the Hartlake Bridge over the River Medway in Golden Green, a wagon was taking around 40 hot pickers and their families back to their campsite. One of the horses pulling the wagon shied on the bridge, causing one of its wheels to crash through the side of the bridge. This upended the cart, tipping its passengers into the river, which at the time was swollen in flood. The victims were casual workers and either Irish or Romany people. The Romanis were all from one extended family. The victims were aged between 59 years and 2 years old. The inquest into their death was held at the Bell Inn and returned a verdict of accidental death. The coroner found that the accident arose entirely from the defective state of the road and the wooden bridge and the dangerous construction, which ought to have been remedied before. The maintenance of the bridge had been the responsibility of the Medway Navigation Company. The deceased were buried in nearby St Mary's Church, where a monument in the form of an oast house has been erected. The monument is Grade 2 listed. The full cost of the burial was borne by the parish of Hadlow, the Medway Navigation Company refusing to contribute. And in October 2013, on the 160th anniversary of the disaster, a new plaque carrying the names of the dead was added to by the now weathered memorial. The name of the youngest victim, a 2-year-old girl, remains unknown as her parents died with her in the accident. The disaster was recorded in a folk song recorded in 1970s by Romany Jasper Smith. So, just from the plaque itself, if you walk down, we can walk underneath the bridge. I've already taken some external clips of that, but here is the River Medway. And let's have a look. So as you can see, the River Medway is right there. River Medway obviously is its own iconic thing in Kent anyway, but literally not far away from here, because it was hot pickers that had passed away, this pretty much area or part of Kent is actually quite famous for hot picking anyway. Not far away is what I used to refer to as Whitbread Hop Farm. Which is obviously responsible for Whitbread pubs, and they used to provide the hops for those specific pubs. Obviously it's got a special note for me and my family, because a lot of my family members were originally hop pickers, and in fact actually I probably wouldn't have been around if it wasn't for my heritage of hop picking, because my granddad came down from London and he met my gran, and that's how they kind of got together. And so hop picking's always been quite an interesting connection for me, and another reason why I specifically love really Kent. Unfortunately, this video is about a tragedy, but you can understand the correlation or the relationship that I have with a story like this, and how it actually is quite a sort of really relevant story to a lot of people, especially if you are a true Kent person or somebody who's a really prominent person who loves the county of Kent. So let's take a closer look anyway. So as you can see, the bridge itself is quite a modern construction, but you get the idea of what the River Medway, which hasn't probably changed that much, although we have recently had some storms, hence the wind that's probably in the background a little bit. We're literally on the tail end of these storms, so the actual river itself is quite high up actually at the moment. So let's take a closer look. You can see the cars obviously going over the top of this one. And obviously the story itself of you can imagine the sort of horses and the carriages that were obviously used to take these hot pickers to go across these bridges. Obviously the design of the bridges would have been a lot more different back then anyway. But yeah, here we go. So now if you can come closer, you can probably see in the distance the importance of what I was sort of saying to you about why the River Medway is important, because there's a lot of bridges. There's one actually in the distance, Finger of Doom, if you can sort of see that. And you can see the construction of this bridge and how important it is, because it's a vital arterial road that sort of links between Hadlow and Tunbridge, and then obviously onto Tunbridge Wells and Whitbread Hop Farm. So it's an important road. It's quite, like I said, it's heavily flooded, but there you go. So to conclude the wonderful and tragic story of the hot pickers, we are here now in St Mary's Church in Hadlow, and standing behind me is the obelisk, or the monument, which is dedicated to the hoppers, and it's actually called the Hoppers Memorial, and it's got the list of the names, and it's got the little story on the side, which we'll show you in a minute. It's also part of the monument stone, which gives you all the names and the ages. And what's really interesting is that it says on the west side, when you look at it for yourselves in a minute, it says these are all natives of Ireland, and that's just on the west side. So it's incredible thinking. You can look at the ages yourselves, but like I said, I'll show you all that in a minute. And it's really a huge part of like this tragic history that's surrounding here. And you can imagine probably at the time, in the 1850s, of how sort of devastating it was on the community and on the area, especially sort of in a local scheme, to sort of like read about this and to understand how like tragic it was. I mean, even the story itself was quite a tragic story. But the thing is, it's always going to be here in this wonderful church, and I thoroughly recommend that you come down here as the final part. So don't just go to the memorial stone on the bridge. I thoroughly recommend that you come down here to the church in Hadlow, because it's not that far away. It's about 5-minute, 10-minute drive, if that. So yeah, that was it. So to conclude, we'll show you this part in a minute. So just to conclude to everybody, I just want to say thanks as always for watching. And we're going to continue with these like mini stories for everybody, so you can go out there and check them out for yourselves, bring your family, everybody else, whoever you want to invite, and you can tell them about this wonderful story, and you can show them this really interactive sort of parts of history. You can actually go and see these memorial stones, you can witness roughly where the incident happened, etc, etc. But anyway, thanks always for watching, and in the immortal words of Phoenix history, I will see y'all very soon. Take care for now. Bye bye.